Democrat Bennie Thompson is an absolute disgrace. We knew that already, but he sort of emphasized the point today with something outrageous he said about that murdered National Guardsman in Washington, D.C. We'll show you what he said and how all the wrong people are on his side in the Capitol. That's coming up in just a moment. Plus, Republicans are coming out on the Obamacare subsidy debate. They're coming out with one unifying message. How about we get rid of all the fraud first? And the Democrats, fraud? What fraud? We'll lay it out for you coming up in a moment. And it's an open boycott, blacklisting, a jihad. CNN refuses to allow a senior White House official on their network. And yet they spend a lot of time on that network talking about him. We're, of course, talking about the amazing Stephen Miller, and we're going to lay that out for you coming up in just a moment. My name is Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry. Thanks for watching today. We're 2 weeks away from Christmas, not to freak you out or anything, but that's pretty fun. You know what I want for Christmas? I want you to subscribe to our show. And if you're already subscribing to our video show, and this is a very video-oriented show, we know a lot of you, the majority of you, who are watching on a video platform actually watch this on your television, not just on your handheld device or what have you. But we would love for you to subscribe to this channel and also to our audio podcast. The audio podcast, very convenient. It's pocket-sized, goes with you wherever you go. And since the holidays are coming up, you're not always going to be able to watch in your living room or whatever video device you've got. Maybe you'll be on the road. You'll want to hear what we have to say so you can stay up to date. So subscribe to the audio podcast on your favorite delivery system, be it Apple, Spotify, or whatever else is out there. You'll find us. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Microplastics are infiltrating every part of our lives. Scientists estimate we now consume a credit card's worth of plastic every single week. That's gross. Through our food, our water, even the air we breathe. One study found plastic particles in every single human lung sample that they studied. Nobody is safe from exposure, and it gets worse. These plastics don't just sit in your body. They cross the gut lining, they leach into your blood, and they disrupt everything. They've been shown to alter gut bacteria, suppress your immune response, increase your risk of neurodegenerative disease, metabolic disorders, cancers. Some plastic toxins, like BPA, they mimic hormones, they interfere with fertility, they damage DNA. Even if you eat clean or avoid packaged foods, you're still being exposed. But here's the good news. Your gut can help you fight back. Kimchi 1 from Brightcore Nutrition is a potent ally in this toxic world. It's packed with over 900 probiotic strains unique to kimchi and proven to break down BPA, helping you detox from the inside out. It doesn't just support digestion. It helps protect your cells, your brain, your hormones, and your future. Your body was never designed to handle plastic, but your gut was designed to protect you. You just have to give it the right weapons. Right now, you can get 25% off with code Larry at mybrightcore.com/Larry. And if you want a better deal, call my friends at Brightcore. Get up to 50% off and get free shipping. That number, 888-462-4779, 888-462-4779. And please, if you want a discount, if you want a deal, if you want a lot of goodies thrown in, tell them Larry sent you. They'll know who you're talking about. I'm the only Larry they know. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem on Capitol Hill today answering questions about the current state of affairs with Homeland Security, including deportations and other such engagements that her department is engaged in. And then Congresswoman Bennie Thompson, you remember him. He was the chairman of the January 6th committee hearing. This guy hates our military. This guy hates our country. This guy is an odious pig. I'll show you what he had to say about the murder of that National Guardsman in D.C. a couple of weeks ago. But first, here's the secretary.
My family with me. I'd like to introduce them to you.
Disruptions of congressional business is a violation of law, is a criminal offense under federal law. Audience members are advised to take their seats and maintain order. The chairman may now ask Capitol Police to remove and arrest the persons creating a disturbance.
Stop terrorizing your community. Get out of our streets. Stop terrorizing your community.
But, you'd think a cardinal would be busy right now, just 2 weeks before Christmas in the middle of Advent. But there you go. Oh, no, he's just a protester from Code Pink dressed like a cardinal of the Catholic Church. Maybe the security screening team should have noticed the dark red yarmulke on his head and the red cummerbund and the crucifix he was carrying. Or maybe he just brought that in a bag and changed into his costume. They're delightful, aren't they? These left-wing dirtbag protesters. I don't think he's an actual member of the clergy. Let's hope not. Meanwhile, the aforementioned Bennie Thompson, speaking about how DHS has deployed certain federal law enforcement officers as well as a complement of National Guardsmen in cities to engage in lawful, constitutionally mandated enforcement procedures. Well, Bennie Thompson had this to say about the recent cold-blooded murder of that West Virginia woman in the National Guard.
Madam Secretary, you and the gentleman from NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
It was a terrorist attack.
wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can
He shot our
respond.
National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness to allow me to ask my question?
Yeah, we're going to let you ask your question in a second. I love that he's all rightfully indignant now. Like she's the problem. The unfortunate accident? Oh, you mean the cold-blooded murder at the hands of a radicalized terrorist from Afghanistan that your president let in without being vetted and who could very well have been inspired to carry out his murder by the seditious six that suggested that guardsmen were following unlawful orders, and Senator Alyssa Slotkin from Michigan claiming that it was just a matter of days before these guardsmen turned their weapons on innocent American citizens? Is that the unfortunate accident you're talking about, Congressman? So Kristi Noem, turns on a dime and says, "Excuse me," and he acts all butthurt like it's her fault for pointing out what he said. What an odious little jerk this guy is. And I want to remind you once again, he was the chairman of the January 6th committee, along with Liz Cheney. So you know exactly who this person is. All right, so now he's angry. He's asking for the chairman of the committee to reprimand Kristi Noem for taking issue with the cold-blooded murder of an innocent National Guardsman, a member of our military, who got shot in the head by a radical Islamic terrorist led into the country under Joe Biden. She takes issue with the fact that he described it as an unfortunate accident. And now the chairman's going to reprimand her for that.
It was an unfortunate situation, but you blamed it solely on Joe Biden. I want you to know who approved the asylum application for this same person.
Mr. Thompson, this individual that came into the country.
No, I want to know who approved.
Congressman Thompson, I want you to understand. When this individual came into the country, he came under
I'm not going to let you.
Evacuation of Afghanistan under Operation Allies Welcome, was thoroughly vetted by the Biden administration at that point in time, allowed into our country, and then was never followed up. I want to remind everybody in Congress.
Reclaim my time.
We follow the law, and every asylum is supposed to have a check-in every single year, and the Biden administration failed to do that. They vetted this individual, allowed them into our country, and did not do due diligence.
Witness will allow the gentleman to ask his question.
Yes or no? Who approved the asylum claim?
The application on the asylum was thoroughly filled out by information that was gathered by the Biden administration.
So the
His
Biden
asylum-
administration approved the asylum.
The asylum application was put into place under the rules established by the Biden administration.
Reclaiming my time. I don't want to file perjury charges against you, but I'm of the opinion that the Trump administration, DHS, your DHS, approved the asylum application.
Yeah, the gotcha moment that he thinks he had here is not the gotcha moment he thinks he has. because it is true. The final rubber stamp for the asylum application was executed, I believe, in March, the second month of the Trump administration. But as Secretary Noem just pointed out, it was based on the vetting that had been done or was supposed to have been done under the Biden administration. They get the stack of forms and say, oh, yeah, we vetted it. It's all good. You can trust us. And so, well, there's a mistake that will never happen again. Congressman Thompson, if the argument you're making is that every single person who came into this country under Joe Biden and asked for and received an asylum protection from the federal government now needs to be reevaluated and revetted because we can't trust what the Biden administration did, then yes, we agree. Thank you. Bipartisan agreement right here. Secretary Noem should have said that. You know what? You're right. You got us. We trusted the Biden administration, but we trusted the people who were in charge of Homeland Security for the past 4 years, and we shouldn't have done that. And now, because of your support, Congressman Thompson, because in fact, you've just given me the idea right now, we are now moving to revet, reanalyze, and reauthorize every single asylum claim that was put in during that Biden administration. We're not going to trust a damn thing they did. In fact, we're now going to assume that they're all terrorists until proven otherwise. Is that more like it? Thank you. Thank you for helping us prove our point. But frankly, whatever argument he had and whatever great gotcha moment he was trying to achieve here, it all flushed down the toilet in the first 20 seconds.
Madam Secretary, you and the gentleman from NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman.
Unfortunate accident. I do love also, I don't know if you noticed this, but when he rephrased it, he thought he fixed the problem and cleaned things up by saying, I'm sorry, I didn't mean unfortunate accident. My bad. I meant unfortunate incident. That's what I meant. Unfortunate incident. Not murder, not atrocity, not act of terror. It's just an unfortunate incident. They really don't value life in general. You know that based on their position on the unborn, but they really, really hold the lives of our military in contempt, especially when the commander-in-chief is a Republican. What a horrible, horrible human being. I'm glad he got to axe his question, though. Moving on, a little bit more from Kristi Noem in this hearing, and more things that were, in fact, revealed here about the current state of affairs in Homeland Security.
But you have systematically dismantled the Department of Homeland Security, put your own interests above the department, and violated the law. You are making America less safe. So rather than sitting here and wasting your time and ours with more corruption, lies, and lawlessness, I call on you to resign. Do a real service to the country and just resign. That is, if President Trump doesn't fire you first. I yield back.
What an absolute dick. Because that's going to happen. This is a guy who protected Alejandro Mayorkas when he sat in that chair. This is a guy who ran interference for Alejandro Mayorkas, the man who sat in that chair and lied for 4 years, saying, oh, the border is completely under control. There's no chaos at our border. There's no rampant illegal immigration. This is a guy who opened the border, let tens of millions of illegal immigrants, many including murderers, thugs. In fact, we'll show you in a second how widespread the violence from those 4 years are in our country, thanks to Alejandro Mayorkas. And he lost, 600,000 children on his watch. And Bennie Thompson, hell of a job, Alejandro. But Kristi Noem needs to resign. An absolute joke. But I got to tell you, when it comes to sitting and grandstanding in this committee hearing and pounding the table and trying to flex and just like, you ought to resign. You ought to resign. Please. The man's got no cojones at all. Bennie, step it up here. You really want to show us what you got? You should be like my man Sri Tharander. You remember yesterday, he began the impeachment process for Pete Hegseth. And I got to tell you, I think he's on his way for a twofer here with Kristi Noem.
I am sick of your lies. The American people are sick of these lies. American people demand truth.
America is very happy that finally they have a president in the White House that gets up every day to keep them safe.
Madam Secretary, your incompetence and your inability to truthfully carry out your duties of Secretary of Homeland Security. If you're not fired, will you resign?
Sir, I will consider your asking me to resign as an endorsement of my work. Thank you very much.
Well done, you, Kristi Noem. That just to understand the Orwellian world we're living in right now. Where, I mean, how do you define Homeland Security? I mean, what's one of the fundamental responsibilities of carrying out security for the homeland? That's securing our border. So think about where we were a year ago under Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Alejandro Mayorkas. And within months, like weeks, of Kristi Noem taking over at Homeland Security and the president taking over at the White House, we had locked down the border in such a way that we have now 0 encounters with illegals at our southern border. And what kind of Looney Tune world do you have to live in? And the answer is the Democrat Party, apparently. What kind of Looney Tune world do you have to live in to look at the nightmare hellscape that we just went through with wide open borders and terrorists waltzing across without any interruption? Murderers, rapists, kidnappers, drug dealers, child traffickers, no questions asked. Now we finally have a secure border, and she's the problem? She's incompetent? They don't deserve your respect, these Democrat elected officials. They don't. How bad was it? Well, I believe he's the director of the National Counterterrorism Center was there to talk about the assessment that they've made now based on those 4 years of wide open borders under Joe Biden. Quickly, in the comments section, as I play this clip, I want to hear from you right now. How many suspected terrorists do you think were let in 4 years? How many? Because when I thought about it before I saw this clip, you know, what, a couple thousand? 5,000 tops? That would be a nightmare, right? Oh, it's worse than that. Watch.
We've made significant progress under President Trump's leadership. We have the jihadis of ISIS and Al-Qaeda on the run in Iraq and Syria, thanks to the decisive action and the strikes that we've taken there recently since President Trump took office in January. However, we have a persistent threat from the individuals that were allowed into this country by the previous administration. The number one threat that we have right now, in my view, is the fact that we don't know who came into our country in the last 4 years of Biden's open borders. What we have identified is alarming, and I want to share that with you today. We just recently put out a warning of the heightened risk of terrorist attacks posed to the homeland by terrorists pretty much of all stripes, but in particular from ISIS and from Al-Qaeda. NCTC has been crunching the numbers and going through the sheer volume of known and suspected terrorists that are in the country that came in under the Biden administration. So far, NCTC has identified around 18,000 known and suspected terrorists that the Biden administration let come into our country. These are individuals who under normal circumstances would never be allowed to enter our country because of their ties to jihadi groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Yet the Biden administration not only let them into the country, and in many cases facilitated their entry into the country, just like the entry of the Afghan terrorists who committed the terrorist attack here just before Thanksgiving, killing one of our National Guard members and wounding another. That Afghan was brought into the country as a group of over 100,000 Afghans who were brought here during the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. These individuals, despite what has been reported, were not vetted properly to come into the United States. The individual terrorist who committed the attack in DC, he was vetted to serve as a soldier in Afghanistan. The Biden administration essentially used his tactical level vetting as a ruse to bring him here and to bring him into our communities. And we've seen the tragic results of that. Now, that Afghan, that attacker, that terrorist is just one of 88,000. We've identified 2,000 of that group of 88,000 who have ties to terrorist organizations. We're working right now, hand in hand with DHS and with the FBI, to run down this 2,000, the Afghans who came here under Allies Welcome, who have ties to terrorist organizations, and additionally, the other 16,000 individuals with ties to terrorist organizations that Biden let into our country. That is probably the top terrorist threat that we face right now. And that doesn't include the individuals who came here illegally through the open border. That number, alarmingly, remains unknown at this time. We're trying to figure out who those individuals are as well.
Wow. Okay. So that's Mr. Kent, Joe Kent of the National Counterterrorism Center. And he's a pro, obviously, and you don't F with him, although Bennie Thompson probably will. You know, in their eyes, he's the problem, this guy. So 18,000 known terrorists already through various programs, but at the border, unknown, sadly, still. God knows the kind of mayhem we're going to have to suffer for years to come because of the travesty of the Biden administration. And I can't wait for the Gavin Newsoms or the Kamala Harrises or the Josh Shapiros or the J.B. Pritzkers or the Gretchen Whitmers or the Mark Kellys or whoever else wants to be the Democrat nominee for president. I cannot wait for them to answer several questions, but one in particular. Do you oppose President Trump's effectiveness on the border, and will you reverse his policies? Will you go back to the Biden era policies on the border? And if not, why not? That needs to be the follow-up. Jake Tapper, George Stephanopoulos, are you listening? Because not one of them, if they want to win an election, are going to say, yeah, we were better at the border under Biden. They'll come up with some squirrely way of saying that they'll continue, or they'll claim that they'll continue the policies. You know they'll undermine them the second they get into power, if God forbid they get into power. But if they give you a squirrely answer that suggests that they're not going to change the Trump policy on a secure border, the journalist, the teleprompter reader, the lackey that works for the network, they need to follow up and say, why won't you go back to the Biden era? Why would you not return our country to what things were like on the border under Joe Biden? Please tell us why you won't do that. Show your work. Now, you notice that the Democrats were all singing from the same choir book. They always do. And the overriding message that they kept sending after every questioning was, will you resign if President Trump doesn't fire you? See, there was some story, I think it was in Politico or one of the rags here in Washington, that suggested that Donald Trump is frustrated with his cabinet. Heads are about to roll. We've been hearing this for months, by the way. And Kristi Noem's name in particular is being rumored within the Beltway here in D.C. as being on the chopping block. Her days are numbered, and she's going to get fired by the president. Okay, well, let's check in with the president. He was asked about this yesterday.
I read a story that I was unhappy with Pete because he was attacking drug dealers. I said, that's not exactly right. I would say very much the opposite. Pete Hegseth has been phenomenal. I read a story recently. I'm unhappy with Kristi. I'm so happy with it. I mean, we have a closed border. We have a border that's the best border in the history of our country. Why would I be unhappy? She's fantastic, actually. No, we have a fantastic cabinet, really fantastic cabinet. I mean, Lutnick, I'll have to think of. I read.
Do you like that part? He says, Lutnick, I'll have to think about. He likes Howard Lutnick, so that was a bit of a joke. They're personal friends. But there he is addressing it head on. Yeah, I read that I'm unhappy with Kristi. I don't know who's telling you that. Only one person knows who Donald Trump is unhappy with at any given time in the cabinet, and that's Donald Trump. And if you read anything elsewhere about anything, don't believe it until you hear it from him, okay? You want to know how I'm pretty sure the president is happy with Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary? Well, take a look at this post yesterday from the Department of Homeland Security. They gave themselves a bit of an end-of-year report card, scoreboard, perhaps. We're not even a full year into this administration, but the end of the calendar year is probably a good time to assess your effectiveness, don't you think? 600,000 illegal immigrants deported from the interior of our country in these 11 months, with another 1.9 million self-deporting. That's 2.5 million illegal immigrants gone in less than a year, this first year. And I know if you're like me, you probably think that's a great start. let's keep it rolling. And I can tell you that's exactly what the intention is. Department of Homeland Security is facing some scrutiny because they've just spent a couple $100 million acquiring 6 new Boeing 737s. They're using them so that they can deport illegal immigrants back to their home country or to a country that will take them without utilizing commercial airliners and tickets on commercial or chartering planes. They're going to own the planes themselves. And believe it or not, even though that's a hefty price tag, $237 million, that's actually cheaper than the money that has been spent to deport these illegal immigrants this year. So they're going to have a more robust fleet of their own to be able to fly people back to where they belong. It will save us money in the long run. And so they're just getting started. That's a smart move. And it also sends the signal that the deportations have just begun. And one other thing, you're going to see a lot of sob stories. They're already coming about people who have been in the country for 10 years, 15 years, and they got caught up in an ICE raid and now they're being deported. Let me just be clear. A couple of things. First of all, if you're in the country illegally and you've been here for 10 or 15 years, I assure you, you have broken other laws. You have broken laws with regard to identity theft, tax filing, either filing under false pretenses or not filing at all, working under the table for cash instead of actually, getting withholdings done from your employment. There are a lot of other laws that get broken if you're living in the country illegally for that long, number one. Number two, if you got caught up in an ICE raid, it means that you were associating with felons, okay? And number three, I don't know what to say at this point, but forgive me if this sounds cold-hearted, but it's been nearly a year now. The president ran on the idea that because of what Joe Biden did under Kamala Harris and Alejandro Mayorkas, because of what the Democrats allowed to occur in that Biden administration with the border, it means that we're not going to handle this problem with a surgeon's scalpel. Okay, this is not going to be a gentle sifting of individuals, right? If you're in the country illegally, your time is done. You need to go home. And let's face it, you've known that now for a little while. You've known that President Trump is in charge now, and you know that the American people overwhelmingly support that policy. And finally, for God's sake, we're willing to pay for you to leave. We, the American people, have offered you a buyout. You've been in the country illegally. You continue to break our laws. And we have said, listen, if you leave on your own, we will pay for it. And we'll give you cash in your pocket to take with you. And your status will remain legal with us so that you can then apply to come back legally. What the hell more do you want? So given all of that, if you're still here illegally and you get caught up in a raid and you end up getting apprehended, detained, and deported against your will, sorry. Not sorry. Hey, I want to talk to you about my friends over at besthotgrill.com. Go to besthotgrill.com. You'll see me there, along with Scott Jennings and a bunch of us over here on the Salem Podcast Network. It's that time again. Time to select presents for your family, corporate gifts for your best clients and employees. You want to get them a gift that's fantastic, unforgettable, and hot. And I mean hot. That'd be the Solaire Infrared Grill from besthotgrill.com. Solaire Infrared Grills heat up to 1,000 degrees in 3 minutes. And they produce juicy, tasty food unmatched by conventional grills. This is perfect for today's busy lifestyles. You don't have time to wait for a grill to get hot enough for your steak. By that time, you'll probably just call DoorDash or something. No, cook yourself your own healthy steaks, chicken, fish, zucchini, even pizza and bread. It all comes out fantastic. I tried it out myself this week, and my own personal grill is coming this week. Watch my social media. I'm going to show you some videos of the great steaks I'm going to grill. The hot and fast Solaire Infrared Grills are the gift that will be used. And every time your loved ones, your best clients, your valued employees grill on their Solaire Infrared Grill, they're going to think of you. Don't you want to be associated with a nice, juicy steak? All Solaire Infrared Grills are made in America and built to last. More importantly, Solaire infrared grills deliver the wow that everybody likes to receive in a gift. Learn more about the amazing Solaire infrared grills. Go to besthotgrills.com. That's besthotgrills.com. What is it? Oh, yeah, besthotgrills.com. Democrats are demanding more subsidy bailouts for the health insurance corporations. They claim it's to help you with your premiums with Obamacare. And they're right. It will help you, I suppose, by funneling a ton of money to the insurance companies. So the insurance companies don't charge you the money, but it's really a gift to them. At least the Democrats acknowledge, though, that Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is not affordable. It's broken. But their only solution is to just keep on keeping on and taking tax dollars that we don't have to prop this thing up. Well, Republicans have a better idea. Speaker Johnson earlier today.
A new report by the Government Accountability Office, which I haven't seen too much written about yet. You should look into that. It is an eye-opener as well. It makes clear why it would be a dereliction of duty to just extend subsidies without massive reforms to them. Okay, over the last 2 years, this is investigators at the Government Accountability Office. Okay, they submitted 24 fraudulent applications for the ACA subsidies, the Unaffordable Care Act subsidies, Obamacare. Okay, of the 24 fraudulent applications that they created intentionally to just see what would happen, 23 of them were approved. These applications were completely fraudulent. The investigators did not submit any Social Security numbers, citizenship documentation, or reported income documents. And 23 of the 24 applications were still approved. 18 of those, by the way, are still receiving coverages they were as of September of this year. That means the Obamacare exchange and insurers didn't verify any of the information they're supposed to under the law, and they proceeded to pay tens of thousands of dollars to insurance companies for people who do not exist. Okay? The GAO report also found that 29,000 Social Security numbers in 2023 and 68,000 in 2024 were used to receive more than 1 year's worth of insurance coverage. In other words, multiple people were utilizing the same Social Security numbers to openly defraud the American taxpayers. The GAO also found that more than 94 million was sent to insurers on behalf of dead people. Okay, this is the system that Democrats in Congress want to extend without reform. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And Republicans' message is very simple. Fix the fraud first. Not one more tax dollar until you fix the fraud first. Now, they're going to come up with some more ideas about how to fix the health care and health insurance problem in this country that Democrats have broken. And they're going to roll out a lot of ideas. For instance, until they can completely reform the package, at the very least, let's start by sending the money to you and start a health savings account for you in your name that the government will fund. You can then take that money and you get to buy directly from the insurance company instead of sending the money to the insurance company where they're going to take their overhead and profit off the top before they start delivering you services. Get back to an open market concept here where you can compete and you make the insurance companies earn and win your business. There's a concept. The Democrats want nothing to do with that. And they're in denial about the palpable fraud that exists in this system. Johnson pivoted and turned his sights on the Democrats here.
Let's be very clear about one thing. When the Democrats talk about healthcare affordability, okay, this catchphrase that they have, they are talking about one thing and one thing only. They are talking about continuing handouts to big insurance companies. They have no ideas, they have no desire to fix the broken system they created. They just want to subsidize it. And subsidy is a big word. It means they're taking taxpayer dollars and funding a broken system. That is their entire affordability agenda in a nutshell. This agenda does not lower healthcare costs. All it does is hide the cost of the failed law, which we assume is the point. And their proposal, which is a 3-year extension of these enhanced subsidies, the Democrat COVID subsidies that they created, that they put the expiration date on for this December. That proposal to extend that for 3 years is devoid of any reforms to clamp down on the rampant waste, fraud, and abuse. And it continues to provide taxpayer subsidized health care to Americans who are making hundreds of thousands of dollars in annual salary. It doesn't make any sense. Now,
It makes no sense unless you're a Democrat. And by the way, do the math here. They want to extend these subsidies, the COVID era subsidies that were put in place because of the COVID pandemic emergency, and they want to extend it for 3 more years. Do the math. Figure out when these are going to expire and then overlay those dates with the next presidential election, and you'll see exactly what they're trying to do. Obamacare is broken, and it's broken because Democrats broke it. Excuse me. Healthcare in America is broken because Democrats broke it with Obamacare. Let me give you a list really quickly of all of the Republicans that voted for Obamacare that led to the dismantling and destruction and sky-high rates you're now paying for health insurance in America. Here we go. Are you ready? Do you have a pen and paper ready to write down these names? Here are the names of all the Republicans who voted for this. That's it. Not one. This is entirely the Democrats' disaster. They made this thing. It's like they built the Titanic, designed the Titanic, sailed the Titanic, hit the iceberg, and then as the Titanic is sinking, they're on the deck of the ship saying, why in the hell aren't Republicans fixing this? Or even worse, they're going down with the ship and pretending that everything's fine. Check out this dude, Sarah McBride, who dresses up like a lady. I mean, honestly, you have to have a broken brain to think that everything is fine with Obamacare and think that there's no fraud in it. And that apparently is the situation here. I mean, there may be more evidence of some brain damage with Sarah McBride, but let's just start with the open denial of reality. A reporter confronted Congressperson McBride on the GAO report showing this rampant fraud. And what was the response?
Government watchdog group set up a number of fake accounts and discovered that 90% of Obamacare subsidies were actually granted without any documentation, no social security number, no income verification. What do you make of this? And why do you guys want to continue to extend a program that's clearly failed the American people, especially for another 3 years?
Well, I don't think the American people think that it's failed the American people, and that study, quote unquote, sounds like bull.
Well, it's right here. I actually have it.
Yeah, but it sounds like a bull study, not a bull methodology.
So because it sounds like BS, you just say that it's no good? I mean, I can show you it right here. New York Times reported on it.
Sounds like the methodology is pretty questionable.
All right, well, it's right here. Obamacare subsidies granted without documentation, 90% fraud rate.
That's a 90. First of all, that's not what that says, and you can mischaracterize what a report says, but that's not what it says. It does not say that there's a 90% fraud rate.
90% of fake accounts set up by government watchdog.
That's
Speaker Johnson and Thune have been sounding the alarm on this for the last couple of days, ever since it was discovered. Any response to them talking about it?
Well, first of all, if they want to work with us and add in measures around verification for the ACA tax credits, we're ready to negotiate. But Mike Johnson has been nowhere to be seen when it comes to negotiating a path forward on this healthcare crisis, including skyrocketing premiums because of the expiration of the ACA tax credits.
So you guys are dead set on the 3 years. I mean, would you come to a compromise if it was 2 years, 1 year?
We've said that we are willing to work with anyone who's willing to seriously come to the table in good faith to extend the ACA tax credits. Our proposal, which is 4 signatures away from a discharge petition being successful to force a vote, is 3 years. But there are other proposals on the table. Again, leadership needs to actually come to the table, be serious, and negotiate. Government requires compromise, but Republicans are nowhere to be found in leadership when it comes to that compromise and that conversation.
Yeah, manly walk on that dude, by the way. I have to say, that's an impressive stride, although I think I may have seen a bulge. And I want to give kudos to whoever the camera person was. Ain't easy to do that walking backwards, right? Wow. What was that last thing McBride said? Government requires compromise. Can I remind you again how we got stuck with this mess? What kind of compromise was made when we passed this bill in the first place? How did you compromise with? No. So the Democrats are now demanding compromise from Republicans to fix what they broke without one Republican vote. They refused compromise when they up our healthcare system. And now they're oh, well, government requires compromise. But let's go back to what the hormone-infused vocal box said there when confronted with the report from the General Accounting Office.
Government watchdog group set up a number of fake accounts and discovered that 90% of Obamacare subsidies were actually granted without any documentation, no social security number, no income verification. What do you make of this? And why do you guys want to continue to extend a program that's clearly failed the American people, especially for another 3 years?
Well, I don't think the American people think that it's failed the American people, and that study, quote unquote, sounds like bull.
It sounds like BS. Okay, let's play that game for a moment. It came from the General Accounting Office, the GAO. Here's the GAO's website. It's a nonpartisan, fact-based government accountability office. This is not some think tank. It's not some right-wing bastion. In fact, most of the studies they do, as is typical for a nonpartisan independent agency of the federal government, is basically set up to harm Republicans and conservative. That's the problem with these so-called nonpartisan independent groups in Washington, D.C. that are affiliated with the federal government. But in this case, the GAO actually was honest. I mean, you can't fudge these numbers. 90% of the fake accounts that were set up to test the system were approved and funded. Nobody's watching the store with regard to Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act. Billions of dollars in fraud. And Democrats are fine with that. It's part of the system. Don't believe me? Well, here's one of their stars, their leaders, Jasmine Crockett, speaking of the fraud issue yesterday.
I do want to make sure that I cover one other thing that the chairman spoke about. He specifically said that he's concerned about the fraud. He's not giving us numbers, but I can give you some numbers. If we're concerned about how much money it may be costing us because systems are not perfect, we have no perfect systems. We have always had some level of fraud in anything that we have because there's no such thing as perfection walking on this earth. I do want—
There you go. Oh, the chairman's worried about fraud. Well, listen, nobody's perfect. Something tell you, how many of you utilize apps on your smartphone to do your banking? I do. I get my paychecks direct deposited in my bank account. I can check my deposits. I can pay bills from my smartphone. My credit card statements come through that way. I can't remember the last time I wrote a check and mailed it. You do it all online. You do it all through your apps. You want to bet that the people responsible for whatever banking system you use and whatever credit cards you use and how you pay your bills, you want to bet that they put measures in place to ensure that there's no fraud in those transactions? I know they do. I bet you they do. But the government doesn't, because it's not their money. They don't care. She doesn't care. The Democrats don't care. This is their program, and they don't care. And the second Republicans try to fix the fraud and actually trim the budgets and say, we're not going to spend all of this lousy money that people are defrauding us with until we fix the problem, what do they say? You're starving children. Grandma's going to die in the street because of you. No, it's because of you, because you set up a fraudulent system. It's because of you. And it's obvious that that's what happens with government system. And Jasmine Crockett, hey, no system is perfect. What are you going to do? Hey, nobody's perfect. But the important thing is we got to do a big signing ceremony and we got to say, look, we're giving you health care. And meanwhile, they're not giving us health care. They've ruined health care. And I believe in our last clip there, Tim McBride, the dude that dresses like a chick there for Delaware, said, I think the American people don't think that Obamacare ruined healthcare. No, actually, the polls showed that they do. It's exactly what they think. How bad is the fraud? Here's quite a bit of it.
And right now, the Nonpartisan Government Accountability Office has revealed the ugly, ugly truth. They tested the ACA, and the ACA failed. The GAO created fake applicants. Get this. They created fake applicants using fictitious identities, missing documents, and questionable personal information. The system approved them all anyway. These imaginary enrollees receive tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars month after month, even though they didn't exist. No verified identity, no proof of citizenship, no income documentation, nothing.
Yeah, and yet, what was Jasmine Crockett's response again? I just want to see it one more time. By the way, this is from several months ago, I believe, but it certainly hits home today during the debate.
I want to make sure that I cover one other thing that the chairman spoke about. He specifically said that he's concerned about the fraud. He's not giving us numbers, but I can give you some numbers. If we're concerned about how much money it may be costing us because systems are not perfect, we have no perfect systems. We have always had some level of fraud in anything that we have.
There you go. So listen, here's my advice, Joe. It's actually, no, forget that I said that. It's not my advice. I am not advising you in any way whatsoever in this regard, okay? So please, I disavow this. But apparently this is Jasmine Crockett's advice. If the IRS sends you a letter about your tax return and they found some anomalies maybe in how you calculated your taxes owed or the size of your refund, and they send you a notice that maybe, you got it wrong and you need to pony up some money and some penalties, here's what you should do. According to Jasmine Crockett, you should say, hey, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett said no system is perfect. There's always some level of fraud, right? So, I mean, what do you want from me? Sitting Congresswoman, Democrats all across the board yesterday poo-pooing fraud in the Obamacare system. You try that with your taxes. They seem fine with fraud when it's the program they create, they fund, and they celebrate, and that they demand you continue to fund even though it's broken and upside down and ass backwards. But boy, the second you have 50 cents due on your taxes, good luck. Good luck. Good luck overlooking that fraud, broken system. Things happen. Yeah. Try that. Don't try that.
Dennis next in New York, Republican line. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yes, I'm a veteran collecting Medicare. I've been trying to get cholesterol and blood pressure medicine under the Biden administration since 2021 to 2024. And I always had a hard time getting a prescription refilled or anything else. It got to the point I actually went down to the office in Western New York Medical. The whole room was filled with illegal immigrants going in and out. I couldn't even get to the counter to get a refill on prescription cholesterol and blood pressure medicine. Anyhow, long story short, a month ago, I was rushed into the hospital with heart failure and that, and I get there, and for the last 6 months, I come to find out that I got kidney failure and congestive heart failure. Not one doctor from Western New York Medical called to notify me. They knew about this for over a year, and now here I am, and I listen to you Democrats saying that illegal immigrants weren't collecting Medicare and it wasn't hurting the American people. I'm dying right now because of them illegal immigrants getting in line before me. Our medical system and our healthcare system didn't even call to notify me to let me know about this a year ago. Do you have a response for your party and what they're doing to the American people?
Well, let me say I'm sorry for your health problems, and you should have gone to your member of Congress and asked him to help intervene for you with Medicare, but Biden's gone, so let's talk about what you can do in the future. As far as blaming on the immigrants, U.S. law says that immigrants do not qualify for Medicare, so I don't know who is in front of you in line, but let's look at what caused your problem, see if we can help solve it now instead of just blaming other people.
Yeah, you know what, Democrats, you go with that messaging. You go with that. I think that's brilliant. Hey, the law says that those, and she refused to say illegal immigrants, you notice. The law says that, immigrants aren't entitled to Medicare. So who are you going to believe? Me, Democrat Congresswoman sitting here in the Cannon office building, Rotunda, or your lying eyes when you're sitting there in the waiting room?
The law also says they're not allowed to enter the country.
Yeah, thank you. We have federal laws against that sort of thing. How are those working out? Well spotted, Kevin McMahon. That's why you're here. That's why.
Let me set the record straight. Obamacare is a complete failure. We are a decade and a half into the so-called Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, a bill that was promised to the American people as a solution to lower healthcare spending. But patients have not been protected, and healthcare certainly has not become more affordable. Since Obamacare was fully implemented in 2014, healthcare premiums have risen 129%, over 3 times the rate of inflation during the same period.
All of those are facts. It's undeniable. We can't make up data like this. Everybody knows that since the Obamacare was voted in and passed, the costs have absolutely skyrocketed, because that's what always happens when government creates a monopoly and finances the monopoly. And you don't have any choice. Again, I just want to reiterate, if you're a young person, I'm a Gen Xer, okay? Back when I was 20, 21, 22, and I was in the workforce, and you could either get a job that didn't offer health insurance and just sort of roll the dice and assume, I'll be fine, which a lot of people did, by the way. Or you can do what I did. I got a job that had a basic health insurance program for somebody my age. And it was a catastrophic plan that if, God forbid, I got into a car accident, hit by a car, fell out of a window in a building in New York, or got diagnosed with cancer, then yeah, I'd have a major medical program and the deductible would take care of that. But all the other stuff, my checkups, I need some antibiotics, I want to go get a physical or whatever, sprain my ankle playing basketball, that happened. That's out of pocket. I'll take care of that stuff, right? And it didn't cost much of anything. You can't get something like that right now. If you're 22 years old and you need health insurance, you get the same kind of plan that a 60-year-old gets right now, with everything covered, including all of your transgender procedures that you need, don't you know? And that's because of Obamacare. And it was a gift to the insurance companies. And when you look at the rates and you look at the costs and you look at the numbers and you look at the profits, last I checked, I thought Democrats were excited when the CEO of a health insurance company got assassinated in the streets of New York. Well, you can understand why people are upset. They're great at rationalizing murder, aren't they, for their own political purposes? But the irony here is that the anger that some people might have, that certainly doesn't justify murder, but the anger that people might have against insurance companies, that was created by the left. They created this atmosphere. And now they're propping it up, and even worse, in light of the data and the statistics and the facts and common sense about how we got here, they're in complete denial.
I will maybe just ask this one question of you, which really goes to this issue of what happens if we don't have healthcare coverage for everyone. Because one of the arguments that I hear is somehow that the ACA made healthcare more expensive. And maybe you could comment on the value of having more people covered, or in the optimal world, having everybody covered, people would have to opt out of coverage, let's say. But what is the value in terms of not only healthcare for people who need it, but also in terms of the expense of our healthcare system?
Did you see that Senator Maggie Hassan there saying, I don't know, somehow I'm hearing this narrative that health insurance is more expensive because of the Affordable Care Act. I mean, how is that possible? Affordable is right there in the name. It's the Affordable Care Act. So obviously it made health insurance more affordable, right? Right? You honestly, you have to be a complete and total idiot, or the worst possible liar, to be a leader in the Democrat Party right now during this debate. And yes, I know, as always, we always hold open the possibility that it could be both. All right, keep it right here. We've got a story about how CNN is blacklisting a senior member of the Trump administration, and he's fighting back. We'll share that with you in just a moment. But first, Americans keep telling Washington the same message over and over. They want lower costs. Yet right now, the FCC is considering a merger between TV station giants Nexstar and Tegna. If approved, millions of Americans will pay even more just to watch TV. Americans will pay more to watch the news, entertain their kids, or cheer on their favorite team. Now, thankfully, President Trump knows what Americans want, and President Trump can stop this. The Keep It Local Media Coalition wants to stand with our president to save real local news and stop costly mergers that drive up prices, shutter local newsrooms, and leave communities reliant on giant, distant corporate overlords for their local news and programming. The FCC, Department of Justice, and state attorneys general have the power to stop the Nexstar-Tegna mega merger and protect Americans' TV bills from station inflation. Rejecting the deal is essential to keeping TV affordable for working families, and President Trump can help. Support the Keep It Local Media Coalition. Urge the FCC to reject the Nexstar-Tegna merger and protect Americans from higher TV bills. A stunning statement yesterday from the comms director at the White House about how CNN is blacklisting Stephen Miller, the deputy chief of staff of the White House. They just won't have him on the air. In fact, Stephen Miller spoke for himself on this issue, and you're going to want to hear him because, of course, he's one of our favorites. But here's Stephen Chung, again, comms director there, saying Stephen Miller has graciously made himself available to appear on any CNN show these last few days to discuss a wide range of topics and to push back on fake news. Yet, CNN is so afraid they declined to have him on, probably because they know he'd run circles around any of their hosts. CNN is actively engaging in partisan politics and acting as the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. I've got a lot to say about this with regard to CNN and with regard to the responsibility of America's press. But first, let's hear from Stephen Miller himself. He was on with Hannity talking about this.
So over the last few days, our brilliant White House communications shop has reached out to CNN, which of course is running one fake news hit piece after another. And they said, Stephen Miller would like to come on your network to rebut any of these lies. And they asked what show. They said, Stephen Miller will do any show from dawn to dusk. They said, what topic? The White House said, Stephen is available to discuss any topic with any host at any time. As far as you're concerned, Stephen has no scheduling conflicts at all. He will make himself available from the first hour of air to the last hour of air on any subject. And you know what CNN's response was? We will not take him, period, for any show on any topic. That is completely true, Sean.
Unbelievable. And by the way, there's a lot revealed in that exchange, assuming that it is factual, and I have no reason to doubt Stephen Miller's account there. Number one, the fact that CNN replied and said, what's the best time to have him on? And they said, anytime. From 5 a.m. till midnight, he's available to you anytime. And then the follow-up question, well, what topic do you want to talk about? Is it any topic at all? So the fact that they pretended to show some interest, because regardless of what the response would have been, if they had said, yeah, so we're looking at the morning hours, probably during the morning show, they would have replied and said, yeah, you know what, we're all booked up right now. We're trying to, go away from having White House officials on during the morning show. So we're not able to, or if the topic was, well, he wants to talk about the border and immigration. Yeah, you know what, that's not really on the rundown today. We'll let you know. We'll get back to you when we want to. So that's what they were trying to do there. But the fact that the White House comms team said any topic, any subject, any time, any host, any show, any way, anywhere, we don't care. He'll come to studio. He'll do it from his home. He'll do it from the White House. Let's go. And then they still replied and said, yeah, it's not going to happen. So that shows you that they never intended to anyway, but they still played lip service because they tried to play a game with them. Right? But let's be clear here. If you tune into CNN on any given day, you will hear sometimes from the hosts themselves, but usually they sort of, float one out there for their guest or for their roundtable of analysts. They float out a Stephen Miller soundbite or a topic of Stephen Miller just so one of their radical left-wing analysts or guests can call Stephen Miller a Nazi, or a white nationalist, or a fascist, or a bigot, or whatever other pejorative that they throw his way. And here now Stephen Miller wants to show up on the network and defend himself, speak to policy, and say, you know what, you guys called me Hitler the other day. And believe it or not, that's not the kind of thing that me, a father of a couple little kids, wants out there. So may I respond, please? And their answer is no. No, you can't. Now, that's disgusting and despicable to treat any American citizen that way, to defame them and not give them a right to speak their mind and reply on your platform. But couple that with the fact that he is a senior White House official. I thought CNN was in the business of news, right? And last I checked, in the year of our Lord 2025, if you're CNN and you have a Washington bureau and you're focused on news, it means that some of the top newsmakers are going to be coming from the White House, especially a senior official like the advisor to the president and the deputy chief of staff, Mr. Miller. So if you're really in the business of news, I would think that you would want to have a newsmaker on to talk about the news, if the purpose of the network is to actually inform their viewers about the news. But you see, that's not the business they're in. Why won't they have Stephen Miller on? Well, I'll show you. Because when they stray from that mandate that one of the N's in CNN stands for, you know, the news, and they decide instead to engage in propaganda or political argumentation and partisanship, Stephen Miller doesn't play the game. And he ends up making them look like fools. Here's a quick example of that.
Is it the case that, as Pritzker frames it, you are profiling brown people, that this immigration crackdown is designed to go after people of color?
It's such a, oh, what a dumb question. The illegal aliens who are here are taking jobs away from blacks. They're taking jobs away from whites. They're taking jobs away from Latinos. They're taking their health benefits away. They're taking their school slots away. And of course, in many cases, they're committing heinous crimes. We cannot have a system of law in this country that privileges illegal aliens over American citizens. And that's what they're doing. You know it, and I know it.
So that's not exactly a no, Stephen. Can you just unequivocally state that the immigration
it's
policy?
a dumb question. Okay.
Well, I appreciate that, but
it's a dumb question.
So no, this policy is not
I
designed.
thought when I said it was a dumb question, it meant no.
Well, I just want to be clear and precise. I appreciate you trying to qualify my questions, but nevertheless, I think it's a fair one that a lot of people have.
My full answer is no. That is a lie, and it's a dumb question.
Yeah, I think maybe that's why.
Is it?
Like, I could be wrong. I'm just reading the tea leaves. I'm no genius. I'm a bit of a professional media analyst. I'm putting the pieces together. I'm not ready to commit 100% to this, but I think that might be why CNN is not interested in the Stephen Miller show on their network. The answer is no. And it's a dumb question. I'm so sorry I was imprecise before. Yeah, when they raise this stuff with him, he doesn't play their shit. And he delivers facts. He delivers sound, reasonable arguments in the face of their shit. And they can't have that. They don't want that. So now you've got a cable news network who is refusing to book the deputy chief of staff from the White House because it hurts their feelings to have him on. Maybe if they treated him professionally and actually didn't ask, stupid, obnoxious, and offensive questions like that, and actually dealt in the world of news and information and facts, and approached every segment with the idea that our mandate is to better inform and enlighten our viewers rather than to push a political agenda and try to damage people who work at the White House, maybe then these segments would go a little better. But they don't have it in them. Not until they get bought out and new people are in charge, which could be happening any month now. Meanwhile, CNN had a banner day yesterday after that response from Stephen Miller, the one that he gave to Hannity the other day. And then you had this moment as President Trump took questions at a meeting in the cabinet room, and he knew exactly the network the reporter who was asking this question from came from.
And I'm fixing it.
Mr. President, has Secretary Hexeth told you why he hasn't released the video of the second strike?
No, he hasn't told me. I thought that issue was dead. You're surprised you bring it up. You must be CNN.
Lawmakers are still
Are you
talking about it
CNN?
on the Hill.
Are you CNN?
I am with CNN.
Oh, gee, I'm shocked to find out.
The lawmakers are still talking about it on the Hill.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know about lawmakers. Which lawmakers are you talking about?
Just the Democrats have been
Talking
talking
about
about trying to release
I
it.
mean, the people that you work for, the Democrats? You know you work for the Democrats, don't you? You're basically an arm of the Democrat Party. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I do love that. I thought that story was dead. People are still talking about it. Oh, you must be from CNN. Are you from CNN? I am from CNN. Well, there you go. I love the guy. He's so funny. And by the way, one other question. At a different meeting, which was this meeting? I don't think this was the same day, was it, Kevin?
No, this is a flashback from about a week ago.
Right. This was the cabinet meeting last week. Thank you. And he was asked about reports that there are up to 20 Republicans considering retiring this year. And by the way, you see those reports. That's normal, by the way, especially when you've got midterms coming up, which are always hard for the party that is not in power in the White House, number one. So there are some headwinds for Republicans. And number two, just to be cynical here, I'm sorry, but it's the reality. Members of Congress right now are looking at another 2 years of Trump being in the White House. Now, we might get a Republican in the White House 4 years after that, but that's not locked. You're locked in knowing that Trump's going to be president for 2 more years. And if you retire next year, that means you've got 2 years of solid, profitable lobbying that you can do. I'm sorry. It's just the reality. It's the truth. Any member of Congress right now who is a Republican who's considering retiring, baked into that equation is either the next race they're going to run, probably for Senate or governor in 2028, or they're going to stay in Washington and get a job for some interest group or for a lobbying firm or a law firm so they can cash out for the next 2 years while a Republican is in charge of the White House. Sorry. It's just the reality. I don't like it, but that's what's happening. It has nothing to do with losing confidence in Donald Trump or that they think they're going to lose the majority, yada, yada, yada. But that said, the reporter wants to know all about these 20 Republicans who are going to retire.
And I just have a quick question. There's at least 20 House Republicans who have either said they're going to retire or not run again. Do you
And
have any
Democrats
concerns
also.
about the
And Democrats
Right.
also.
Do you have
Well,
any
why don't you mention them? How many Democrats are going to retire? How many Democrats?
Well, that's what I was going to
No,
ask.
no,
you.
but
Do
why
have
don't you
any
tell me the number of
concerns?
Democrats too? You
Well,
tell
are
me
you
about.
concerned about the narrow margins? And
No, I'm not
Congresswoman
concerned. I think we're going to do
Elisa
well.
Bonner is among them, and,
We will have the
Catherine
greatest
Kennedy,
economy.
Blakeman, who you know as well, is considering running for
We're going to have the
governor.
greatest economy in history. How many Democrats are retiring? How come you only know the Republicans but not the
Because
Democrats?
I came prepared to ask you a question about.
No, you're
there's kind of-
unprepared because you should know the Democrats. You're totally unprepared. Go ahead.
And guess what network she was from? I believe she was from CNN. I could be wrong, but I don't think that I am. By the way, real fast, did you hear the preface of that question as she was asking it?
And I just have a quick question. There's at least 20 House Republicans who have either said they're going to retire or not run again.
Yeah, see, that's not accurate. There are reports in Politico or Washington Post or whoever like dabbles in these anonymous reports. There are reports that up to 20 Republicans might be considering, but no one's put their name on it. She just said it as if it were fact. But this is what happens with the media in this town. And that's why I love that the Trump administration pushes back against them, not just from what Stephen Miller just did, but what President Trump does on a regular basis. And I love the fact that we now see Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance and Sean Duffy and RFK and Pete Hegseth and Kristi Noem and Pat Bondi and Kash Patel and other Republicans sort of feel their oats and recognize, oh, yeah, we can do this. We don't have to play their game anymore because the radical left-wing liberal media are not our friends. Although, in the spirit of giving you all the information that's out there and letting you hear the news and decide for yourself what your opinion is, let me give you one alternative perspective on this. According to these people, That would be Wajahat Ali, Joy Reid, and Don Lemon. Boy, talk about a Mount Rushmore of journalistic integrity. Not to mention a small sleeper cell of Mensa agents right here in the heart of the nation's capital. According to these three, there is no liberal media.
There's no liberal media. It's never existed other than in independent media. This is liberal media where we are right now on the left hook. Other than that, corporate media, there's nothing liberal about it. The owners are conservatives who want to do business with Trump.
There you go. That's a woman who recently worked at MSNBC before she was fired. It's now MS Now, of course. And I guess she's saying that that network is not liberal because ultimately Comcast Universal wants to do business with Trump. And she may be right about the intentions of the corporate owners of these media companies, but you sure don't see it manifest in the coverage. Joy Reid believes that when she was on the air on MSNBC, she was constrained and not allowed to be liberal enough by her censorious corporate overlords. You can't make this up. Thank you all for watching the show today. That was fun. That was a blast because of you. And we appreciate all of your subscriptions that you're giving us, as well as the likes on this video and other videos that we post throughout the day. And don't forget to swing on over to the audio-only version of our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your audio stuff, and subscribe there. Leave us a review, too. That helps. Give us however many stars you want, and give us a review so people who are perusing their news and political podcasts will see your opinion about what makes this show so unique and so special.
And so humble.
Let's get to your super chats now. We're not in the business. It's impossible to ask for likes and subscribes and stuff without being a little less than humble. Let's face it. That's part of the game. God's best friend with a 2-pound GBF. Dems equal automatically supporting criminals. They can't help themselves, GBF. They just can't help themselves. Thank you for the super chat. More from GBF, 2 pounds. Shabana Mahmood trying to make me self-deport. We'll look it up. Stumble Boots with a $2 super chat. You're cool too, my friend. Thank you for that. Jeff Depew with the $2 super chat. They had to vote for it before they could read it. Oh, about Obamacare. That's right. And now we know what's in it, don't we? And it ruined healthcare in America. DeBlongo with a $9.99 super chat. I do love my Herman Cain super chats. 999. By 1952, we had a unifying immigration act that is the backbone of today's illegal entry. My question is, can we hold Biden accountable for allowing 20 million illegals through? I think the only way you hold a president accountable, there are 2 ways to hold a president accountable. You impeach them for high crimes and misdemeanors while they're in office, or you hold them accountable at the ballot box, which is exactly what the American people did. Beyond that, I don't know what kind of accountability you mean. You can't imprison him for his dereliction of duty. We can just hold him accountable in the history books. That's just how things work.
Well, Democrats tried to do that.
They tried to, but the Supreme Court said, no, ain't going to happen. You can't prosecute somebody for their official acts as president. Rosemary Kovic. Those are awesome classes, Rosemary. That's very like 1968 Eastern European. I love that. $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Rosemary. I appreciate that. Ron Ria with the $2 super chat. Why is Hegseth not court-martialed? Millie Vinman. Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I guess they got a long list of things to get to, but I would love to see Vinman brought up on charges. GBF with the £2 super chat. There is a perfect system in Minneapolis. Yeah, exactly. There you go, Jasmine. That is, the system in Minneapolis is operating specifically as it was designed. Well said, GBF. Thank you. Ron Ria, $2 super chat. Pam Bondi intentionally blew the Comey James trial. You think it was intentional? The James Comey trial. Maybe. Is it dead though? I don't know if it's dead. I don't know. Why do you think she intentionally blew it? That's interesting. I think it was mishandled, but I think it was also because they had the statute of limitations breathing down their neck. I think that I would like indictments of James Comey to come out of the Southern District of Florida, actually. And I think that there are still impaneled grand juries down there looking at that stuff. So watch that space. $4.99 from Rosemary Kovic. Thanosar left puppies to die in his lab from April 2025. Nevada News and View story by Kelly Chapman. Really? That guy, that shriek? What? I hadn't heard that story. Do you know that story, Kevin?
I do know that story. It's
this one creepy
insane,
dude.
actually.
He's a horrible, horrible person. How did he win that seat in Michigan? I'm from Michigan. It's just, it's an outrage that he's up there. He's such a joke. But if that's true, he's also evil. DeBlongo, with that, do you mind if I call you DeBlongo? I don't know why, but that pleases me. $4.99 super chat. Private sector healthcare, lower bidding costs and greater service with better doctor choices for competition for our business. Competition always works. Always, always, always works. You have to have some umbrella major medical coverage, and competition works in that regard too. But ultimately, for medical services, for checkups, for whatever, I'll never forget. I had an interesting, when I worked in the theater business, I belonged to a union of managers. Only the theater business can have a union. I was a house manager. I was a theater manager, and we had a union. We still have a union, the Association of Theatrical Press Agents and Managers, ATPAM. And at the time, our healthcare system, our setup, especially for those of us who didn't work in New York, I wasn't in New York when I was a member of ATPAM. For those of, and this is set up also for managers that are on national tours, where basically it was a reimbursement policy. You go out of pocket for most of your medical costs, you send in the receipts, and you would get reimbursed by this fund. And when I would go to my doctor and they'd say, all right, well, what's your insurance company? And I said, well, actually, it's a reimbursement-based union plan. And they'd be like, oh, yeah. And I say, yeah, I go out of pocket, I pay for this, and then I get reimbursed. And the second they learned that, the costs were like, they were more than half discounted than they would have charged me if it was Blue Cross or Kaiser or whatever. The second you're going out of pocket and you can sort of call one doctor and say, hey, I need to come in for a checkup. How much is it going to cost? I'm going out of pocket. And then you call another doctor and say, well, this doctor told me it would be this much. That's how things work in a free market. I'm sorry, DeBlongo. You inspired me to expand on that idea. Thank you. You're absolutely right. And now I have a frog in my throat. GBF £2 super chat. I appreciate my question is dumb. However, yeah, that's exactly what the guy said. He said, okay, you're right. It is a dumb question, but still, will you answer it? That's great. How about that? All right, I think we're done. Are we done? Did we do it?
We did it.
Did it, kids. Thank you for watching today. We'll be back. So tomorrow is Friday. So that means we might be graced with the presence of one Christopher Stegall. So you're going to want to check us out for that.
We also might be going early, potentially.
Oh, we haven't talked that through yet, have we?
No, but keep an eye out. We might be going like a half hour early tomorrow.
We might be. Am I going to be doing the show from another location tomorrow?
Potentially. You can if you'd like to.
Are we equipped for such endeavors?
Yes, I believe we are.
I don't want to be in front of some red drape, dude.
That's what you might end up being in front of some red drape.
That's sad, man. All right, we shall see. Can we reveal why we'll be in a different time and place tomorrow? It's kind of a big deal.
You know, if you'd like to, go right ahead.
It's the town hall Christmas party. And this is how beloved we are at town hall. By the way, Kevin, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. Can you look down the hall? Are they listening? Are they watching right now? They should be watching right now.
I wish they were watching, but
you know who I mean by they.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let me just say something. I don't want to yell. I don't want to toot my own horn, but in the town hall universe, we're kind of a big deal. Is that not right? I think it's fair to say we're kind of a big deal, Kevin.
We may be the biggest deal.
We may be the biggest deal in the town hall universe. And they scheduled the Christmas party at what time tomorrow? What time?
Well, you know, it happens to be the exact time we go live every day.
12 noon Eastern time. How do you think we felt when we got the invitation to the Christmas party? Hey, everybody, we're doing our Christmas party. Sorry, Larry and Kevin. You busy at that time? We had no idea. unbelievable. The insult, the outrage. I mean,
Cool.
it's fine. It's fine. So yes, we might have to modify our schedule to accommodate our opportunity to have a free lunch with unlimited drinks. Can't blame us. So make sure you subscribe and get the alert so that you can catch our show tomorrow. Also tomorrow, I'm going to be wearing my best Army Navy swag because it's the last day before the big game on Saturday that we'll be going to. So I got to pick out my my Navy football swag for tomorrow. All right, gang. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Until then, my name's Larry O'Connor, and you can call me Larry.